episode 151 of the podcast. This week we're talking about how vets are noticing differences with the fear-free trend and how it's affecting their customers. And we're also going to talk about a very specific doodle that I was working with this week. You're listening to the Creating Great Grooming Dogs podcast. I'm Chrissy Newmeyer-Smith. I'm a certified professional groomer, a certified behavior consultant for canines, a certified professional dog trainer, and the owner of Happy Critters in Nashua, New Hampshire. And this, my friends and colleagues, is the podcast where grooming and training meet. Fear-free vets are noticing some changes. They're noticing some new trends with their own clientele. And I took this from an article, Steve Dale's Pet World, which this article came out January 3rd. Pretty cool. Talking about fear-free and transforming veterinary medicine. So there are fear-free programs for groomers, for trainers, for shelter workers, for owners, as well as for veterinarians. But I wanted to talk a little bit about what vets seem to be noticing, the changes they're seeing, because they're noticing that owners that are experiencing fear-free vet exams with their animals are bringing their pets in more often. And here's a quote from the article. This benefits pets as preventative care means earlier diagnosis, which means better prognosis, and an earlier diagnosis could equate to financial savings. Ooh, interesting, right? So when we talk to our owners, we can talk to them about when we're fear-free, your animal can get better care. Now, that's not just in veterinary, that's also in dog grooming. What does this mean for us, for groomers and the grooming industry, as well as, anybody else who works with dogs and wants dogs to be healthy? And I'd like to start by saying that the fear-free programs have been a great addition to the animal world. Dr. Marty Becker and his team really did a lot of work with this, and they're trying to change veterinary procedures. And then they moved on to a variety of other types of programs. I personally have done the Fear-Free Groomer and the Fear-Free Trainer certifications, and they are definitely worthwhile. They are a great start, and I encourage everyone to learn as much as they can about behavior. If we work with dogs, we should learn as much as we can about dogs. That seems pretty obvious, right? We're more than a haircut. It's more than a haircut. They're really worthwhile. They're a great start. But my personal experience is that the grooming process has some special requirements and considerations that really need to be addressed. And I know that I am always tweaking and adjusting my own procedures because nothing is perfect. We need to keep building. So I know a lot of people took the Fear-Free Groomer or the Fear-Free Trainer and are adapting it and building on it. And we're all kind of doing that. So take the course if you have it. If you haven't yet, go for it. But what they're finding, because it started off with veterinarians, and what they're finding is that owners are bringing their dogs in more often. They talk about owners will avoid putting their pets in stressful situations or situations that the dog is afraid of. And that seems obvious, doesn't it? Well, yeah, that makes sense. And I think we've all seen that. I think if you're a trainer, you've seen that. If you're a groomer, you have seen that. Certainly if you're a vet, you've seen that people put things off. They put it off because they're like, oh, I just hate doing that to him. I hate doing that to Sparky, or she just gets so scared. I don't want to do that to her. And the owners don't understand why that's a problem. So that's part of us talking to owners. Because the problem with that is that they aren't coming as often. They aren't getting to know us. They aren't getting to know the vet. They aren't getting to know the situation. And we learn through repetition. We learn through repetition, don't we? Now, an animal could be learning to be afraid through repetition, or they could learn to be comfortable, calm, comfortable, and cooperative through repetition. So the more times that we see this animal, the more opportunities we have to work with them before it's too much. And what I mean by that is if an animal is coming in more frequently, like they mentioned in that quote, earlier diagnosis, that animal is not really in bad shape by the time they get to the vet. An owner is more likely to bring their animal in before before it gets terribly, terribly inconvenient or terribly, terribly painful. The first signs, they might be like, hey, let's go see your friend over there at the animal hospital. And honestly, my guys love their vet. They're like, let's go see our vet friend. Okay. There are ways to do this. And the same should be for grooming. The same should be for anybody who takes care of these pets. These pets should feel comfortable with. That should be part of our goal. Fear is an important factor in how often animals are being treated and how often animals are being cared for by a professional outside of the home. And as groomers, we are one of those professionals. So if we can help owners understand that through repetition, we would like to teach your dog to not be afraid of this. And we're going to spend our time doing it. And like I said, what they are noticing is that veterinarians who have switched to fear-free have owners who are bringing their animals in more often, which also saves owners money by catching things long before they become a huge expensive problem, like maybe before they need to go on lots and lots of medications and surgeries and x-rays, to notice something early. For groomers, it could be that this dog doesn't need to be shaved down. The owners who want a big fluffy look can have the big fluffy look if their animal is good for the procedures we need to do. And I want us to think about that from an owner's point of view. We can express to them, if nothing else, we can express to them, this could save you money over the long run by having your dog be more comfortable with it. It could save you money. Sometimes that's what owners need to hear. They're only seeing more repetitions means more money, not further down the line, when more repetitions also means that your dog can always look good, as an example. Or your dog is always going to be a dog that we try to squeeze into our schedule because your dog is a rock star for grooming. And that makes a big difference. There's going to be a time where their dog rolls in something terrible, and the dog that's a rock star for grooming, the dog who is a joy to groom, who has always been really, really good for you, totally knows the ropes, is calm, comfortable, cooperative, that dog is more likely to get fit in. And for owners to know that, like, this could save you in the long run. Why not just spell it out for them as if it's the best bang for their buck so that they understand that, okay, the amount of repetitions we need now is part of training. What? I know, training. Yes, repetitions in the beginning. The beginning can be hard work. And honestly, I think anybody who has adopted a dog, maybe not as a puppy, but like an adult dog that you're kind of getting to know them and seeing what they know already, and you're trying to teach them something new. And it's a lot of hard work at the beginning. And then you do it, you pass through it, and you reach a point where this is comfortable and this is good. And a lot of that hard work fades into the background. And that's why you have people when they get another dog years later and they're like, I don't remember my last dog being like this. Yeah, your last dog needed to learn it too. Just that if you put the work in the beginning, it can become so smooth later in life. So when we talk about things like fear-free approaches, and when we talk about teaching dogs to be calm, comfortable, and cooperative, this is an investment in that dog. This is an investment for their owner to take, for this dog to be comfortable with the kind of things that we need to do. And here is something else for groomers and non-groomers to consider. I'm going to throw this out here too. In my experience, dogs that are calm, comfortable, and cooperative for grooming, who are not afraid of grooming, who are totally on board with the kind of things we have to do, are better for the vet, and they are easier for owners to care for. That has been my experience. I don't know if everybody else has had the same experience, but over and over and over again, I hear that the dogs that I have been working with for grooming purposes, when they get to their vet visit, the vet is like, wow, your dog is so good for all of this. Now, let me tell you why. Because dog grooming is really challenging for the dogs. We go through an entire range of motion at almost every step of our process. So when a vet's doing range of motion and checking over a body, they're doing it once and they're feeling the dog's body. Groomers are doing it in the tub, under the dryer, on the table, with the clippers, with the brushes. We're doing it all over the place. We touch every little teeny tiny millimeter of that dog over and over and over again. And if they're comfortable with it, I mean, imagine they get to a vet's office and the vet only does it maybe once, and maybe not with a whole lot of tools. The kind of things that we have at our grooming stations. We have a variety of tools, shapes, colors, sizes. Some make noise, some have cords, some have a weird vibration to them. A veterinarian with a stethoscope isn't a big deal anymore. So I think that there's this emphasis as if the medical part, the veterinary process, is harder. But drawing blood and giving injections is the difference. Everything else, you know what? Groomers are doing a lot of that other body work on a dog over and over and over again in one session with duration, because it takes a long time. We have our hands on that dog longer than they would in a veterinary exam. And we also have a wide variety of tools. We have a much more distracting environment that we're doing that in most of the time, maybe not all the time. But even as a house call groomer, my distractions around me could be UPS or FedEx. It could be kids coming home from school. There are lots of distractions that you would not find in a veterinary exam room. So we're actually helping a dog cope better for the veterinary exam. And that's awesome. Dogs see groomers more often, so groomers are also going to be the first line of defense. We tend to notice health problems on dogs before owners do. I don't know about you guys. When I'm wearing my groomer hat, there are plenty of times I'm like, ooh, I kind of want to let you know I noticed something about this one ear, and I need you to make an appointment with the vet, make sure this is okay. Let me show you what I found. We send dogs to the vet. We're around these animals a lot more. And the dogs that are better for grooming, who are not afraid, that's an investment. These dogs do great for the vet. They're so much better when their owners have to do something like an eye ointment or clean up a paw that's bleeding, running around in the yard and get hurt. They are so much better for their owners because we can spend time building repetitions and teaching them to be calm, comfortable, and cooperative. If you're enjoying this podcast, please remember to subscribe so that you don't miss any episodes, and tell all of your friends. I want to talk a little bit about a dog that I was working with this week. And this was at the grooming school. I didn't have any students, so I got to just hang out with this dog. Do this dog as a regular grooming. This dog is an adolescent doodle. I know, a bunch of people just went, oh God. And I want us to kind of break this down. So first things first, I don't think I've met this little guy before, so I went out to talk to the owner. I'm on the floor with the dog, checking him over. On the floor with him. He's friendly, so first you figure out if a dog is going to be friendly before you get on the floor with him. Super friendly, silly dog. He's about 8 months old. Super friendly, super silly. I get on the floor with him. I'm checking him over. I'm showing Dad where he's got some mats, which are around his feet and his hocks because they didn't really realize that snow will form some mats. So we talked about it. Got that over with. I'm looking him over. I'm talking to his dad about how silly he's being. Like, yeah, he's a great guy. He's super sweet. He's super cute. He's also really silly. So let's talk about what our expectations are for our grooming today. He has a lot of coat on him. They like a really full look, and they want him to be really pretty long. But he is definitely just a big, silly muppet. And so I can be a little bit silly with him. I can be a little bit silly. I have to keep that level at a good place where he's feeling comfortable with me, but not being overly encouraged to be jumping around. So when I talk to people about their adolescent dogs, I think that we hear adolescent, we hear teenagers, and we automatically think pushing boundaries and arguments. But sometimes it's just they're still kind of puppies and not quite adults. This particular dog, as an example, has a very short attention span. I have to work within this dog's individual attention span. So I planned to give this dog a bunch of breaks. This dog was not going to be in my hands the entire grooming start to finish. This dog was going to go into a crate and then get a little break and then come back out and then back into a crate and come back out a couple of times. That's part of my plan. Why? Because he's an adolescent doodle with a ton of coat. He's a big job and he's young, and I have the opportunity to set the mood, to set the tone, to plan ahead, and to make sure that this dog is having a good experience. So in the first part, we talked about fear-free, and I know I always talk about calm, comfortable, and cooperative, but I don't want him to become afraid of any part of this process. I am part of this dog's early development. This grooming is part of what will make this dog's opinion about what grooming is and what being dropped off is. And I want us all to take a moment and think about the responsibility we have there. I am part of this dog's early education. I don't want to be the experience that scared him. I don't need to be the experience that scared him. I can help this dog have a good experience. So here's the silly Muppet. He's so silly. I went to put a leash on him to get him out of the crate, and he's just like trying to jump all over and say hi. Instead of getting upset that he's super jumpy, getting upset with him, getting angry with him, or trying to be stern with him would be scary for him. This one individual dog. Look at the individual in front of you. A stern, harsh no is not going to help him be calm. It's not going to help him cooperate with you, because he is young and silly and just doesn't know any better. But if I can calm him down, get my hands on him, some slow petting, and just help him lower some of that energy level. And another part of this is think about the way his owners interact with him. That's part of what I was doing when I was in the waiting room, taking a look at him and seeing how playful his owners are. If his owners are fairly playful and silly and he's like, oh God, he's such a goof, then I know that he's used to people being silly with him. He's used to that. I can be part of what he is used to. That's part of the environment he lives in, where people are silly with him and think he's super cute, because he is. He's adorable. So you also have to look at these dogs as what their owners are teaching them. I can be a little bit silly with him if he starts to get nervous. So when did that happen? I picked him up and put him in the tub, and initially he was a little bit nervous. And I had to, one of the terms for it is jolly him up. Like, hey buddy, you're okay. Tickle your face. Come here, you're all right. And he relaxed a little bit. I got him to relax because initially he got in the tub and kind of put on the brakes for a second. Like, ooh, this is weird. Oh, I don't know. Calm him down. Instead of just pushing forward like, well, this isn't anything I can't handle. It's not about you as a groomer finding that easy to handle or hard to handle. It's about what is he feeling right now. He put on the brakes. He was a little bit nervous. I could just manhandle him and move him further up to the edge of the tub where I need him, or I can help him relax for a minute. So I helped him relax for a minute. When I got him on the table, we were doing some drawing on the table. Every once in a while, he got a little bit, worried looking. I had to jolly him up again. Hey, buddy, you're okay. Listen, hey, you're being silly. And sometimes he was relaxed enough that he was being silly. Now I need to calm him down again. All right, silly pants. What are you doing? Shh. Hey, can we be calm together? Oh, nice. Who's a good silly puppy? Now, when you're in a group setting and there are other dogs in the room, you need to remember that even if you're being silly or chatty or talkative with a dog, it's really important that that is a moment between you and that dog, and you try to keep it at your workstation and not affect every other dog in the room. So I can't just be like, woohoo, hey oh my God, you're so great, because other dogs in the room might turn real fast and end up, bopping into a pair of shears. So I need to make sure that I'm not being distracting for every other dog in the room while I am working with this particular guy. Now, if there were a dog that was having a real hard time with that, we would try to just time it so that they weren't on the table at the same time. But there was no problem with that. So I'm at the table, I'm talking to this dog. Sometimes I'm jollying him up by being a little bit silly. Sometimes I'm calming him down, which still has this friendly, silly edge to it. And if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you know I'm a big goofy dork, and I also tend to sing on my table too. So sometimes I'm just humming to him, sometimes I'm singing, and the singing always tends to be like stupid little songs like "Let's get your foot, I need your little footy foot, there's my good silly guy." And I know I'm a big dork, but you know what? Read the dog. Read that dog. Did that help that dog calm down? Is that dog feeling more comfortable with you? I would rather have a little bit wiggly silly than a dog who is really scared. We have to get them comfortable first, following instructions second. And what I mean by that is if a dog is uncomfortable, trying to get them to follow instructions isn't necessarily our priority. Help them be comfortable first. Help them feel comfortable with you touching them everywhere. Help them feel comfortable with the equipment that you have around you. Then worry about, and now I need you to hold still. And now I need you to hold still and stand up straight. And now I need you to hold still, stand up straight, and have me do stuff to you. But when we look at these adolescent, silly doodles, which I find most of the doodles are just plain silly. They're just silly. And if you try to be stern and you try to be quiet and you're just like, I just need to get this job done. Stop moving. Stop moving. Give me your leg. Give me your, no. Like they shut down. They don't know what to do with that. So we can be silly. We can be silly. Just always keep in mind, what is it doing? The effect it's having on the dog that you are working with, and is it having effects on the other dogs in the room? Because like I said, if you are in a group setting, if you are in an environment where it's a grooming room and there are other dogs on tables, you really have to gauge that and say, okay, guys, I have a silly puppy and I'm going to need to be a little bit silly with him. Any of the dogs here have an issue with that? Much like, if you're in a really quiet room, I'll tell people like, guys, care if I turn on the vacuum? Because I want to make sure that no one's startled. But you can be silly with a dog and help them relax. Not every dog, but a lot of these adolescent dogs, think about, is being a little bit silly going to help this dog feel comfortable with me and loosen up a little bit and maybe not be afraid? Because it's really easy to take a dog who's 7 or 8 months old and teach them to hate grooming. It's really easy to be that like stern. He's got to learn sometime. I'm just going to hold on to this leg. You stop and hold on to that leg until he stops fighting. What kind of experience is that telling that dog that this is? That's a fight. That's a fight. We don't need to fight with him. So be thinking about fear-free, be thinking about calm, comfortable, and cooperative, but that the long term is that if we can teach him that this isn't scary, each and every time we groom him, we can expect a little bit more from him. And as he matures, we can expect a little bit more from him. Like, okay, you're old enough now that you should be able to handle more. For instance, when I talked to his owner, I'm like, he was really good today. He did a really nice job. He's really silly, but he let me do everything I needed to do. We were able to keep him calm. We taught him some new stuff. If he's like this when he's 5, we're going to be like, we have work to do, but age appropriate, he was good. Age appropriate. He's a baby. He's 8 months old. He's a little teenager. He doesn't really get all of this yet. He doesn't have a whole lot of experiences under his belt, but he's got some pretty good experiences. And we're here to help him be good for 15 years of grooming. 15 years of doodle grooming, because he's going to have a complicated coat his whole life. So be thinking about each individual dog has their own little things that are going to make them feel more comfortable and be able to adapt to that individual. If you'd like more information, you can find me at Chrissy@happycritters.net, happycrittersdogtraining.com, or you can join the Facebook group, Creating Great Grooming Dogs podcast or the Facebook page, Creating Great Grooming Dogs. I really look forward to hearing from you. If you're ready to go beyond the podcast, and I hope you do, I've made it really easy for you. If you go to creatinggreatgroomingdogs.com and click on your next step, you'll see all of the options. There's the Scholar Lounge community, there's the Modern Grooming Professional certification, there's Master Canine Stylist and Professional Canine Stylist diploma testings, there's the Behavior Lab for coaching and private one-on-one sessions with me, and of course, the Master Groomer Behavior Specialist program. So go to creatinggreatgroomingdogs.com and click on your next step.